Hey everybody, so I am here to give you a little more guidance into what I am intending with the control structures, complex conditionals, and nested loops standard for the class. And so what I've actually done is written out in a rubric precisely what I am looking for as we go through this. And so this document has been shared with you and you can check it out. In the B plus row, as usual, I'm telling you precisely the sorts of things I'm looking for you to do. So writing control structures, connecting conditional statements, demonstrating that the output is consistent with a test input, using different methods of controlling a loop, I'm going to give some examples, and explaining the output of a loop nested inside another loop. And so those are the requirements. And what I'm going to do here is give you some examples of what I mean by each of these things. The first thing I want to point your attention to is that inside of my playground, I have added a few more robots to my list. So I have, I don't know exactly how many, but a lot more than the 4 I think I started with, so that I have a bunch of things that I can demonstrate these concepts with. So I've added this in here. You have probably done this with your set of structs and test data from the project that we just finished doing. So if we go back to the idea of the page that we're working on, this is asking you to print out a correct statement based on items in the list that meet two conditions connected with and. So thinking about this rubric, this is asking us to show that we can write control structures of at least 2 different types, that's if, then, and switch case, and connecting conditional statements using both and or operators. So we're going to try to do all 3 of these things with a single control structure. So let's see if we can do that. So on this page, I'm going to take the first row of my test data. If we look in robots, this is the Robinator 5000. Its battery voltage is 13.6. It is a flying robot and it has 4 motor numbers. And so that's robot 1. And let's define a second robot, and let's make this the second one in our list. And so this is going to be Big Dog. And so you can sort of see the properties there. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to copy these over and put them in as comments so that I can keep track of what each one is. And so here's the idea. I'm going to write an if-then statement. And what I'm going to do with this one is if robot 1 dot battery voltage is greater than 10 and robot 1 dot is flying, or let's say dot type, robot type, is equal to flying, okay, I want to print big voltage in the air, let's just say, okay? Else, I'm going to print not big voltage and in the air. And so this is because we're using the and operator in this. Oops, there's my mistake right there. So greater than 10 and robot 1.robottype is equal to flying. And so I am using robot 1 as a test value to show that I understand how to use this operator. So let's look at this. Robot 1 is flying and its battery voltage is 13.6. So I know that robot 1 is going to evaluate both of these as true. So when I run this, I should get that this is the statement that prints out. I'm going to copy this structure and switch this to robot 2. And so you see that robot 2 is Big Dog. This robot is walking, and its battery voltage is 45 volts. So we can see that this is going to be true but this is going to be false. And the AND operator that I'm using here is combining these two conditional statements to decide whether to print this or this. And so what I can say here is that in this case, I think this will print out, and that in this one, this is what prints out. Let's run the code. And sure enough, we can see this is the statement that would print it out there, and this is the statement that printed out there. Now let's talk about what I've done. I have shown that I can write a statement using and I have used some test values, made a prediction as to what's going to happen. One thing I could do to make this even better is say that this prints out because the battery voltage is greater than 10 and the robot type is flying. And I can do a similar explanation for this comment because the battery voltage is, I'm going to say that it is greater than 10, but the robot type is not flying. Okay, and a key thing with and, the and operator is only true when both inputs are true. So that's the idea with this first one. Now, I could do something similar if I wanted to show that instead this was with the OR operator. So I'm going to copy over this code, and I'm going to actually go to the next page where I talk about control structure with OR. So I'm going to paste all this in again. And this time, I want to show that I know how to use the OR operator as well. So I'm going to use the same two tests, robot 1, robot 2. And so this time, I want to do, how about, I'm going to change this to walking. Okay. And I'll do the same thing with this one, actually. And why don't we try and distinguish between these two, and let's say the battery voltage is greater than 20 or the robot type is walking. So we've included a couple things here. All right. So in this case, robot battery, if I look at robot 1, robot 1's battery voltage is 13.6, right? So I want to know if the robot battery voltage is above 20 or the robot type is walking, then this will print out. Otherwise, this will print out. Not big voltage and in the air. Let's adjust the print statement to match up. So we'll say that, and we'll do the same thing with voltage 2. And so I know that in this case, this statement right here is not going to print out. This is going to print out because battery voltage for robot 1 is not above 20. And, actually I'll say nor, robot 1 is walking. Okay? And with the OR operator, either one has to be true. And so in this case here, I think that this is going to print out because both are true. So if we run this, we can see that my prediction was correct. Now, this is not a great example to demonstrate the OR operator because this oh, I didn't even switch this. Oops. There we go. So even so, if I run this, it's still going to print out the same way because really the OR operator is true when either one or both of the inputs are going to be true. So let's switch this second one around. Let's switch this around. So less than 20. Let's make this less than 20, the battery voltage we're comparing to. So I know that with this change, this statement is going to be false, but this statement is still true. And since the OR operator is true whenever one of these or both of these is true, I know that this is still going to print out. So if we run that, we can see that we still have this as the statement which is printing out. And I'm going to adjust this comment to show that I know I know why. This prints out because even though the first conditional statement is false, the second is true. And OR operator is true whenever at least one input is true. And so that's the idea behind the OR operator. Let's look back at the requirements and see what I've done here. So with my test value 0 and 1, with my two robots, I've shown that the output is consistent with the test. So I've shown what I think is going to happen and shown that it actually happens. I've used both and OR operators to show that I can do this within a control structure. I've used an if-then statement here with an AND operator. So as of now, what I've shown at this point, I have not shown that I know how to use two different types. I could also do another one that shows how to use switch case or a ternary in order to meet this requirement. So I hope this helps a little bit with the control structures task, specifically with conditional statements.